Trump says undocumented immigrants are not people. Warns U.S. will see bloodbath if not reelected. This is a Hill story. So let's go through, see what these guys are talking about. Okay, so the former president comments about migrants accused of crimes come as immigration remains a critical issue for 2024. I don't know if you call them people, he said at the rally. In some cases, they're not people, in my opinion, but I'm not allowed to say that because the radical left says they're a terrible thing to say. The former president's comments about migrants accused of crimes come as immigration remains a critical issue in 2024. I don't know if you call them people, he said at the rally. In some cases, they're not people. Anyways, so this story is going all over the place. And the comments about Bloodbath. Rob, do you have the video about Bloodbath? If you have the video about Bloodbath, let's kind of show this because the media ran with it. Morning Joe ran with it. Joe Scarborough, you cannot make comments like that. Nancy Pelosi ran with it. They're just criticizing him left and right. But this is the context on how the concept of bloodbath was used. Go ahead, Rob.
You're not going to be able to sell those guys. If I get elected, now if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath for the whole, that's going to be the least of it. It's going to be a bloodbath for the country. That'll be the least of it. But they're not going to sell those cars.
Okay, you didn't play the whole thing, Rob. You're kind of doing what mainstream media is doing. I think Rob is actually
Rob, are you a
against-
plant?
Yeah,
what
Rob
are you
is actually
doing, bro?
Are you?
Do you have a longer
you
clip,
left
Rob,
out
or
the
no?
entire first part
Because
of what he
the
was
whole-
saying.
yeah.
I love Robert.
So go ahead, Rob.
What are you doing over there, Rob?
Mexico has taken over a period of 30 years, 34% of the automobile manufacturing business in our country. Think of it. Went to Mexico. China now is building a couple of massive plants where they're going to build the cars in Mexico and they think that they're going to sell those cars into the United States with no tax at the border. Let me tell you something to China. If you're listening, President Xi, and you and I are friends, but he understands the way I deal, those big monster car manufacturing plants that you're building in Mexico right now, and you think you're going to get that, you're going to not hire Americans, and you're going to sell the cars to us now. We're going to put a 100% tariff on every single car that comes across the line,
100%.
and you're not going to be able to sell those cars. If I get elected,
Here we go.
now if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath for the whole. That's going to be the least of it. It's going to be a bloodbath for the country. That'll be the least of it. But they're not going to sell those cars. They're building massive factories. A friend of mine.
Rob, I'm glad you
Okay.
played the full clip, Rob. You were doing what the
Tom,
mainstream media does.
thoughts
Oh,
on-
guilty.
and by the way, do you have any other clips on what Pelosi said about it, on what Morning Joe say about it? Maybe if you're looking forward.
I sent him the Scarborough. I sent him the Scarborough one.
Yeah, if you got the Scarborough one on how they spun that, because it's important. You know, the game is a.
And this is everybody. By the way, this was every single
That's
news
right.
place.
Go ahead, Rob.
Was acting like this.
He's talking about a bloodbath for America. It's laid out in the terms of it. And these idiots on Twitter, these idiots on cable news, these idiots on Sunday shows going, well, presidents, you know, he was talking only about the auto industry, and this is one more. It's just bullshit. Let me say that
Look
at
at
6:15 a.m. It's just bullshit. He knew what he was doing. We're not stupid. Americans aren't stupid. He was talking about.
This guy has common sense, and he's talking like this. He's delusional. By the way, we can pause this. He's actually a pretty smart guy to talk like that. He knows exactly what it's not and what it is.
Do you genuinely believe that? Do you believe that he's so gone that he's like...
He knows. He's playing the game because he hates Trump.
Yeah.
He hates Trump. Go ahead. Is this Pelosi? How long is this one? Play this clip. 20 seconds. Go ahead.
He's even predicting a bloodbath. What does that mean? He's going to exact a bloodbath? There's something wrong.
Tom, go
here.
ahead.
No. If you look, this is Trump derangement syndrome at its very peak. By the way, in terms of markers, have we reached peak Trump derangement syndrome? Pretty close. If you have nothing to say, bend the other guy's words. That's what this comes down to. They have no policy. They have nothing they can talk about. Don't you think that now that the primaries are basically settled and we have two presumptive candidates and all we need to do is run to the conventions, don't you think you'd be pushing policies, positive, dream for America, vision? No, you have to bend the other guy's words. Why? Because he's got a head of steam. He's coming up in the polls. You're behind. And you have to go back to the old saw, fear, uncertainty, doubt, and throw it on America. He's going to exact. She used a word there. what she was saying is, when the phrase, I'm going to exact vengeance on that. That's what she's doing. And then she's inserting the word bloodbath. So this is a dog whistle to people to claim this is going to be dictatorial. This is going to be horrifying. And all Trump was saying, Xi, you're a friend. But if you think you're going to build those cars there, and he said, listen, this is what you want, America. Trump said, that's not the way I deal. He's talking about protecting you. He's talking about protecting jobs. That's not the way I deal. Z, you're a friend, but if you think you're going to put the cars there,
Vinny,
just send them over here. Forget it.
And I'm so happy that you randomly play Nancy Pelosi. I sent Rob a clip. What they're doing right now, what Nancy Pelosi is actively doing, it's called the smear campaign. And if you want to learn the playbook of how to do it, here's an older video of Nancy Pelosi explaining to you guys exactly what she and the mainstream media is doing. Listen from her mouth.
And it's a diversionary tactic. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. You demonize, and then we call it the wrap-up smear. If you want to talk politics, you call it the wrap-up smear. You smear somebody with falsehoods and all the rest, and then you merchandise it. And then you write it, and they'll say, see, it's reported in the press that this, and this.
Well, thanks, Nancy.
So they have that validation that the press reported the smear. And then it's called the wrap-up smear. Now I'm going to merchandise the press's report.
That's interesting. Little how-to.
By the way,
Nancy Pelosi.
A how-to video. Pat, she's trying to steal your thunder. But listen, guys, I saw it happening live in real time, and then in my head, I'm just like, okay, because of X, and by the way, it took a while for Elon to actually do the fact check, which he did it by himself on the NBC one. But my question is, though, Tom, it's now that it's been going on for a couple of days now, think about the millions and millions of people that aren't doing the research, that aren't looking at the fact check. The job is done, though, because you know how many people are walking around this week going, did you hear what he said about
Not
the blood?
Not the common sense people. Not the common sense
But you know
people.
what, though? The non-common sense people are still voting, too.
It doesn't. No, the non-common sense people.
The polls are showing things. I think people know.
May I, Tom? Can I? I was speaking when you. Go ahead. Finish your thoughts. Go ahead, Tom.
No, I was echoing Vinny.
Go ahead. Finish your thoughts.
No,
Tom.
Go ahead. You were saying something. I want you to finish your thoughts.
All I said, I trust the people. That's what the polls.
Yeah. So no, what I was saying is, I don't think the common sense people will do that. I think the common sense people will see this and actually be more turned off by it. You know, when you constantly bitch about, like, for example, I was in a company and they constantly trashed the previous company that they were a part of. And it was another insurance company. You know what eventually happened? Everybody wanted to know, what the hell happened with the previous company? So everybody was so curious. I'm in Las Vegas. I'm putting an event together. We have a couple thousand people at our event. We're small at this time. This is like 8 years ago or something like that. And right across the street, there's a similar event going on. Then, you know, this guy who's supposed to speak at our event, they get him to go speak at their event right before. And he's a guy that'll take money from anybody. That's why we don't have a relationship. Yeah. So he goes and speaks across the street at the other event. And then at the entire event for 4 days, guess who they trashed?
That guy?
No, they trashed me.
Oh, really?
So guess what happened with my phone with DMs? Everybody in that company who has common sense is texting me saying, hey, why do they keep talking about you? And then they came over to us. And then fast forward to that same company that used that model trashing everybody, just lost their biggest guy 2 months ago, 3 months ago, just left. 20,000 some reps left, okay? Ooh. You know, and yeah, all these stuff that's going on, that you play that game, it doesn't work, right? So when we started the company, I said to myself, guys, here's one thing we're not going to be doing. We will teach what everybody is doing, and then you go make a decision for yourself. That company, it's very hard to build a business. If somebody's built a business that big, it takes a lot of work. Those guys takes a lot of work. Those guys takes a lot of work. You don't tear them down. Now, there are companies that attract people that like to trash other people. That's the Democratic Party today, okay? Which is what they're doing, and they're trashing Trump all day long. That works with the people that are going to vote no matter what. Remember what RFK said? What did RFK say? RFK said this is the first time ever where the independent voter is the biggest it's ever been, and it's a bigger vote than the Democrat and the Republican. Yes. You know what the independent voter is saying right now? What are you doing? Do you think I'm dumb? The independent voter who actually has the ability to reason and has logic and common sense watches this and says, wow, what a stupid thing to say. Why would you say something like this? Then they fall for the trap. Then the independent voter and goes and watches the whole thing. Then they come back and say, he never said that. Why would you spin that? And then the independent voter sees the Biden administration create an ad about this and spend money behind it. Then they say, now you're dark and manipulative. That's why I'm going to go the other side, and maybe the other side's not going to do something like this. So I don't think this is actually going to work the more things like this they do. I think the plan of what they want to do is a bigger plan, but I'm going to go to Adam before I transition to another story.
Well, Tom, thanks for letting us speak today. Appreciate you, brother. The number one word here that we need to clarify and hone in on is the word literally. So both sides are obsessed with the word literally. So on the right, they say things like, you can't take Trump literally. You can't actually take what he's saying literally. He's a storyteller. He's a marketer. He's a showman. Like, he's just an entertainer. Not everything that he says should you take literally. And I understand that on the right. Now, the people on the left, they will literally say, literally, you have to take him at his word. Like, if Trump says it, you have to take him at his word. So if you watch anything on the left, MSNBC, CNN, anything over there, Bill Maher says this all the time. I take Trump at his word. If he says those words, I believe him, right? When he says the election is stolen, or this is the end of democracy, or I'm going to be a dictator on day one, I'm going to take him at his word. That is their MO. On the right, they're saying, dude, no, you can't literally take Trump at his word. That's the thing. But here's what I can guarantee on the left. They're going to take every single thing he says that is clippable. Bloodbath, I'm a dictator on day one. Russia, you do whatever you want. Both sides. Mexicans are rapists. And I guarantee you this, they're going to take it, they're going to clip it. The Pelosi's of the world, the Bidens of the world, they're just going to take exactly what he says and run with it. They feed it to mainstream media. It is what it is. By the way, let's not pretend that Trump doesn't also say pretty outlandish things.
Of course he does, because he's not afraid to grab the mic, though, Adam. You feel me, bro? He'll talk. He'll openly talk on the mic. When Biden's talking, they're like, no, grab him, get him the hell out of here.
I want to see what he says. Go ahead. Let's hear the outlandish stuff. Go ahead.
Well, like, if we're going to use, like, can we all agree that Trump speaks in hyperbole? It's going to be the greatest economy ever. We're going to win so much.
He's a showman. You said it.
Yeah, totally.
I agree. Yeah.
So, like, for instance, you go to the story right here. It's on page, I don't know. Trump predicts that if he doesn't win, it's going to be the end of democracy. Do you actually think that if he doesn't win, it's going to be the end of democracy? I don't know if you have that story.
Okay, you're asking me. So, if it keeps going like this, I think so.
Look, we've dealt with worse in this country before. In 1968, when was it 64? MLK elected, assassinated. Bobby Kennedy assassinated. Civil rights era. We've dealt with worse. We're going to hear the same narrative. This is the most important election of our lifetime. If Trump gets elected, he's a dictator. Trump's going to say if Biden's elected, it's the end of democracy. Here's what I can guarantee. Clip it, run it in 2028. There will be an election in 2028. USA will thrive and survive. There's going to be no civil war. The future looks bright. So everyone that wants to basically say this is the end of democracy, or if the other candidate wins, life's over, I don't believe it. But you're entitled to your opinion.
Let me ask this question to you there, okay? Because, I'm fully from the camp of future looks bright, okay? What percentage should we, the voter, the American people, be paranoid about seeing other great societies and other great civilizations and countries that fell? Rome, we can go back and we can look at a lot of different case studies that used to be massive and then they fell. How much credibility should we give that there could be a fall in our country? Tom?
I think history shows that they all fall. It's just a matter of when, because it's a flawed world, a broken world led by humans that inevitably, in hubris and pride and greed, make a mistake and go over the waterfall. They've all fallen. All the monarchies of Europe, Rome, all those things you were saying. And I think we should study history and we should stand on that knowledge and say, wait a minute, in my lifetime, I'm going to stop it. In my lifetime, I see something bright. I see a bright future. I see something I want to point to. And in my lifetime, I'm not going to let us go inching closer to the waterfall. I'm going to try to stabilize it, and I'm trying to add something good. That's how I approach life.
Yeah. I think, how many movies have we seen that came true? Think about how many movies we've seen that at one point you're like, oh, that'll never happen. And now it's kind of happening, right?
Like 1984?
Yeah, stuff like that. Like when you're seeing some of these movies, you're like, all of a sudden, you're like, some of these things came true. I think from the standpoint of him saying, this is the end of democracy, do you think Trump believes that? Do you think Trump believes that? I think Trump probably believes to his core that something's going on behind closed doors that we're not aware of. Now, is he a better salesman? He is. He's gonna sell fear and he's gonna sell opportunity, and he has to. That's the job of a persuader when you're going through it. But there's also part of it that the level of paranoia with what can happen. Like this, what is it called? The Logan Law, Logan Act. Is it called the Logan Act? Can you pull up the Logan Act? What is the Logan Act? Came out in 1799. Is a United States federal law that criminalizes negotiation by unauthorized American citizens with foreign governments having a dispute with the United States. The intent behind the act is to prevent unauthorized negotiations from undermining the government's position. The act was passed following George Logan's unauthorized negotiation with France in 1798 and was signed into law by President John Adams January 30th, 1979. The act was amended in 1994, changing the penalty for violation fine $5,000 to fine under the title. This appears to only be amended by. So if violation of the Logan Act is a felony, okay? And only 2 people have ever been indicted on charges of violating the act. One is in 1802 and the other is 1852. Neither were convicted. Go to YouTube, go to Twitter right now, Rob, if you don't mind. Go to Twitter and type in, I can't say X, guys, no matter how much I go. So type in Logan, go put Logan Act Obama. Okay? Logan Act Obama. And then go down. Go to that. Okay, zoom in a little bit. Obama violating the Logan Act.
In plain sight.
Click play. What's he doing going there? Vinny shared this video with me.
Yeah.
What are you here to talk about?
Yeah, he's dressed like he's going to a funeral, by the way. And then look, does this photo, watch this Obama on 10 Downing Street. Look, he waits for the cameras. That's who's in charge, guys. That's who's in charge of our country, period.
So to me, when you ask the question about, the democracy is in jeopardy and all this other stuff, I'm more concerned about from the moment he got elected, what he did. They won one game back to back to back. Then Trump came in. Then Biden wins. Then this one, if they win, they have full control. And this kind of goes into Supreme Court where now they're asking, if you want to comment on this Logan Act.
Well, I wanted to ask when you say Trump's worried about the threat to democracy.
Yeah.
What did he say? End of democracy? What does that entail? If that entails, ready for this?
Trump predicts the end of democracy if he loses 2024
election. Okay, so ready for this? Does that entail the end of democracy? The government being involved with election interference, what Adam's going to talk about later with Google? Is it the influx of all these illegals for the vote? Is it crime? Endless wars? And I mean, if you think about it, he's right. It's not going to happen right then and there. But I mean, they're doing everything to do. And Obama, why is Obama going to visit with a bunch of heads of state and he's not the president of the United States? It's just showing you Biden's not in charge. Biden can't just jump on a plane, fly to England, go meet with all these people, because he was meeting with a couple of them in there. I think Belgium or somebody else, the female was in there. But it's like, what is he doing? Are you making decisions? This is a private meeting.
Rob, can you pull up why Obama visited London, visited UK, and why did he visit there?
That was 10 Downing Street, right? Which is sort of their White House, their parliament.
The thing that they're saying is he went there to talk about something that has nothing to do with this, but the meeting that he was having was secretive and nobody's going to know what.
As he headed inside the Prime Minister's office in London to meet with Sosnick, 43.
Yeah.
Sunak's official spokesman told The Guardian that Obama made an information courtesy drop in part of his trip to London, where he was visiting for work as part of his Obama Foundation. Obama and Sunak were reportedly discussing a wide range of topics, including AI.
Yeah.
Per the outlet, I think President Obama's team made contact, and obviously the Prime Minister was very happy. Why would they? Yeah, so this is the kind of stuff that's a little bit suspicious on what's not. Listen. Has this happened before? I'm sure I'm sure Clinton's done this, God knows how many gazillion times, where they've met with different people. But I'm concerned on if this election is going to be a fair election and Trump wins or loses. If it's a fair election, Trump's winning this election.
I can no longer remain in today's Democratic Party.
Tulsi Gabbard says she is no longer a Democrat.
A potential Tulsi Gabbard VP.
Where we are being told that we just have to comply and go along with whatever they say.
American people are smarter than this. However, we must remain vigilant to recognize their propaganda for what it is, pure lie.
Unfortunately, we live in a time where free speech is under attack. Whatever they say goes, and we have to just follow.
And the people who suffered under your reign as prosecutor, you owe them an apology. Taking on Kamala Harris on a debate stage before, I would look forward to doing that again.
So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click right here.